It's April 14th. It's 26 degrees outside. We're looking at snow next week, but we figured we'd get a jump start on getting ready for the summer. I love stuffed things. Anything that's stuffed. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Today we're doing stuffed mushrooms, stuffed jalapeno peppers, and stuffed pickles. So when it comes to gutting out a mushroom to stuff it, these things are very fragile, but they're kind of sturdy. It's a weird combination of things, but there's a couple of tricks that'll get you through it so that you have nice, even, shelled out mushrooms that are perfect for stuffing. First is to get the stem out. This is easy. Grab it firmly but gently, if that makes any sense. Just make sure you've got a good grip on it. You're gonna just take and put some pressure on it with your thumb until it pops. Like that. And you're gonna turn it, and you're gonna do the same thing with the other side, and it pops right out. So that's what you've got on the inside. You could stuff that, I guess, if you like lots of mushrooms, but I like to be able to have lots of room for filling. Find yourself a cheap spoon, like a cheap teaspoon, one that doesn't have any writing, it doesn't have a boxy end. As you can see, this one is like a rounded, a small bevel. It's perfect for what we need it for here. So if you have any sort of instrument in your drawer that looks like that, if it's not a spoon, it doesn't have to be a spoon. Problem is with the tips, the way the tips work, these edges put more pressure on parts of the inside of the cap, and I always crack it if I use that, and the sides can hit. This is perfect for what we need it for. And it's also gonna be perfect for when we do these jalapenos next. So just very gently, but firmly, hold that mushroom and start scraping the inside of the cap. Try not to hit the sides, because that's what causes it to crack. And you end up, let me throw that there. You end up with more of the inside coming out, and you're just scraping it. And you'll see it's coming off in little tiny sheets. Put the scraps aside if you're industrious, because this is really good for soup, by the way. You can always just toss it in and make a soup stock, or I do mushroom cream sauces a lot in the summer with pulled pork, so it's kind of perfect for that. But just to hollow that out, and it's ready for filling. Stuffed jalapeno poppers, one of the best bar snacks ever. And when you make them at home, everybody thinks, okay, easy, cut the end off, pull the seeds and the pith, the white stuff out, and then slice it in half. That's wrong. Don't slice them in half. You will get less, but make sure you get nice big ones. See the size of these? Like, you can find really good sized jalapenos if you look hard enough. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take it and you're going to just place it on your cutting board like this. And you're gonna kind of give it a roll. See where the best, see like that seems a little unstable, but when I had it over here, that's a little more solid when it sits. That's how it's gonna sit on the grill. So what we wanna do is we wanna slice the top rib of the pepper off. So holding it by the stem, and just run your knife across the top. That's a little too shallow. There we go. And you're gonna start to see things emerge. You're not cutting into any seeds or anything at this point. And you're gonna reserve the rib that you're cutting off to the side. We'll talk about that in a sec. You just wanna open it up. You wanna get it so you can carve around in there. And now you've got a perfect little vessel to hold whatever you want. This today is going to be a cheesy jalapeno popper. And remember that spoon that we used for the mushrooms? It's perfect. For pulling out seeds and the pith of a jalapeno as well. And you're just gonna scrape it gently. This is a nice one. It was half turning red on you, so it's gonna taste really good. and just get all the seeds. And as much as that, and that's the pith that I'm talking about. If you can get in on that, you can see the little ribs inside. Try and scrape as much of that out as you can, because that's where most of your heat sits in your peppers, and you don't want these things blowing the top of grandma's head off this summer. And they also get a little bitter when you're cooking them. So you can leave a little bit in for some heat, but just try and get the majority of it out. And that's what you end up with. A perfect little boat for your things with the stem on, so you can actually pick it up and you can eat it without having to grab the actual pepper. Because we're gonna wrap this as well. We're getting wrapped with prosciutto today instead of bacon. We're gonna gussy it up a bit. I'm pumped. It's 26 degrees, it's April. So those leftover ribs on the outside of the jalapeno, what I like to do is chop them up really fine, or as fine as you can. And these are gonna go into the filling, but not a lot, just a little bit, because it's gonna have that fresh jalapeno flavor, whereas these are gonna get cooked and they're gonna be the cooked jalapeno flavor. So this is gonna go into the cheese mix fresh, along with garlic, red pepper, and a Spanish onion that we're going to sweat off in a frying pan before we put it in with our filling, just to get the sweetness out of the things, get the sugars moving. So what we have here is a mix of cream cheese. It's like that garlic and herb cream cheese, the Philadelphia stuff, and a bunch of Cheese Boutique's Gruyere, the stuff that we put on the burgers at the food truck. We had some left over, and we chopped it up really small. So if you can actually get in there, you can see little chunks running through. So this is that jalapeno I was talking about. So we're gonna dump a bit of that in there. And you don't have to do this. You can just toss those ribs out if you don't have a use for them. I just like having both the cooked jalapeno flavor and the fresh inside that cheese, because this is gonna melt. This isn't really gonna cook down. That's why we're gonna cook those veggies, the garlic, the red pepper, and the onion a little bit before, so then that way that they get sweat off, and that flavor that you really want from red pepper and onion translate into the cheese. You want to dry these out. You want to get them as dry as possible, because they are going to let out a ton of moisture when they're cooking. You don't want your filling to sog out too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to pat dry them, and then we're going to put them on a plate in the fridge, open, with no wrap on them, and leave them in there for a few hours before they actually hit the grill and get filled and then hit the grill. And that way we try and draw out as much moisture as we possibly can before they go. Just give it a mix in there, and it's gonna loosen that cream cheese up a bit too, because it's got some liquid in those veggies that we've let out when we sweat it off, and it'll make it way easier to fill your veggies and then crust the top, and then they'll be ready for the grill. So what goes on top of this stuff? You can't just have like cream cheese laying out in the barbecue. You gotta cover it. And we make a wicked 3-part breadcrumb, panko crumb, and Asiago from Cheese Boutique. And give that a good mix, and we're gonna spread it out on a plate, and then after we fill everything that we're prepping today, we're gonna give the top a dip in this, and then give it a quick swipe with a brush of olive oil. And you just wanna make it nice and even, just like that. And then we're gonna wrap them afterwards. I can't wait for this. This is gonna be so good. The pickles, we talked about those going in the fridge and letting them dry out, you can see how, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's almost like a matte finish. I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, there's not a whole lot of liquid left on the outside of that pickle. And it's perfect right now for what we want to do. But wait until you see what we do with these mushroom caps. So that sausage, that deer sausage that Ray Ferron brought us when we did the food truck takeover at Cheese Boutique, is so good and super lean. Like, it's so nice. Like, it would be such a snappy sausage on a bun. But because we kind of deconstructed it to use for these mushroom caps, I'm gonna add a bit of this cheese filling just to kind of counterbalance that lean. You gotta see this stuff. It's so good. I can't wait to eat this. This is gonna be so delicious. If you've never had venison, like actual processed venison, the way, like from a good butcher, you're missing out. It is one of the, you'll hear, no, it's too gamey, I don't like deer meat. They're wrong. Whoever says that's wrong. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a bed of that cheese in, and then we're gonna stuff it. And then this is what that crumble that I made with the panko, the breadcrumbs, and the Asiago is gonna go on top of. We're gonna dip this. Right on top of that. See? Get ahead of myself. Get all crazy here. Don't get crazy. All right, now time for my favorite part. You just give them a tap in your bowl of breadcrumbs, panko, and Asiago, and then you take them out, and they look like that. Like, I want to eat it now. Like, it looks good. I'll end up in an emergency room if I do, so I'm not going to. Thanks, Charlie. All right, so what you want to do is you want to find yourself one of these guys, and it's a veggie tray for a barbecue. They are absolutely priceless when it comes to cooking vegetables in the summertime on your grill. And place things in sequence of how you want them to cook. And I just remembered we're actually using the Rambler. We're not using the Weber, the kettle. So I've rearranged it because I don't think this fits the other way in the Rambler. So mushrooms up front here. This is going to be the front side. Here's our jalapenos, and then our pickles are on the back side. These things aren't going to take a whole lot of time to cook. So maybe 15 minutes for the peppers and the pickles. Maybe an extra couple of minutes. Get yourself a good thermometer. It's gonna help. So I'm gonna drink a nondescript, non-sponsored beer. If you want to sponsor me, you just hit me up. flipping this in a way for you to get that. All right, Ray Ferron, thank you. Time to try your venison sausage. Come on. Right? Even the dog is excited. Dude, this is fantastic. Cool. Now let me show you the reason why we use the Gruyere in that Philadelphia cheese. I don't like cream cheese on its own, but I also don't want to put fillers in it, right? So when you use a Gruyere, it's such a like a full body cheese. Like it's so stiff, even when it's melted, it'll hold everything together. As you can see right there, like that's cream cheese and Gruyere. I don't get it all over my hand, but you'll see. Look, it holds up. And that prosciutto, perfect. Stop using bacon. It's always gummy. It never ever dries out properly to get crispy. Use prosciutto. Charlie agrees.